Hopefully live and able to be heard this time because apparently I just recorded an entire 20-minute video with the microphone off. Lots of fun, guys. So anyway, Quinn here with you, Middle of the Earth Podcast, Zero Attitude from Zero Latitude. I've got a pretty nice, nothing major podcast this morning. It's going to be about Latin America, what's going on there. Quick rundown of Argentina and how things are shaking out with their peso versus the dollar. It took a 30% drop overnight, and you're gonna, just like me, why did this thing drop overnight? And it looks like the collapse of the peso was based on the election results in the new country, for the new presidency in the country. Apparently, and this is something that I was not aware of until reading this, the new incoming movement, the socialist movement, I guess is kind of how they're viewed, of Cristina Fernandez and Alberto Fernandez, were not well received by the population. They apparently immediately dumped their positions. A lot of business owners and wealthier, countrymen view this as a huge negative for the future of the Argentine economy, and subsequently dumped their position in that currency. I guess overnight their central banks had to kind of take regulatory measures to keep the drop from getting too out of control. So let's kind of get into where, I don't think they're not going to have a really good outlook in the future, in the coming years, with a 30% drop in one day. I mean, one day it drops 30%, with the country's central bank intervening in the foreign exchange market using its reserves to prop up the peso, but it's still, end of the day, 15% down. 15% in a single drop after having your country kick in its, buyback programs. Look at this. This is what we're looking at. This is on a 1-year chart. So in January of this year, we were at 0.26. In August, same time last year. What is it? We're at August 15th right now. So August 15th last year, the price was 0.33. Today, the price is 0.17, excuse me. So about 100% drop in value. It's just something that I think is not going to be, it's not going to get better in the future with a change in government and a government-controlled monetary policy where you're printing endless amounts of this currency that people believe is valuable because they believe it, but in reality it holds no real-world value. I mean, it's only what people will trust you to exchange the rate at. If you want milk or land or water at this price, well, that's great. It's going to cost you now 65 pesos for every dollar, it seems like. So that's it's definitely going to be something to watch in the coming days. It could get a little bit weaker even. I think that's just one of those things there. And it's not Argentina. Argentina is not a small country. Argentina is the number 2 economy in Latin America. They've been like the world leader with regards to Latin American, economies. They just front run all of the banana republics and just only trailing Brazil, really. So the reality is that if they are capable of failing this big and disproportionately, why couldn't all the banana republics below them fail? And the reason and the response is that they can and they will. I think that it's not far off for, one or two of these front runners. One of these, Argentina would be a great one. Brazil would be an even better one. But if you can get one of these big economies in Latin America to move into cryptocurrency, to move into Bitcoin, as opposed to suffering hyperinflation, and I bet you that was happening. And that it was because Bitcoin was selling at a premium in Argentina. And that's only that's only going to occur in certain places. So right here, yeah, Hong Kong and Argentina, because as a 4% surge in premium compared to a 30% drop in your home currency, that doesn't really seem like that big of a trade-off. I'm doing that every day of the week, 26%, we're cool, So that's kind of something I'd keep an eye on if that continues to happen. If you continue to see large spread premiums for local purchases of Bitcoin in Argentina versus around the world as their peso drops, that's a great sign for Bitcoin and crypto as a whole. We just need that to happen on a bigger scale, faster almost. You need to have other countries see it happen and say, look, we're not going to let that occur here. Let's get it. Let's make a plan. Let's get us into something else. So that's where I'm kind of feeling with that. To switch gears to another country, Ecuador has been having some real issues lately with their banking system, and specifically a bank called Banco Pichincha. As of 3 days ago, there was no money moving around in this bank. You couldn't buy anything with your debit card at the store. You couldn't use your credit card at a restaurant. You couldn't go to the ATM and pull money out of your bank account. Now think about this in a country like Ecuador where everything is meant on the daily. Like, they pay bills daily. They pay their rent is paid daily sometimes. It's not paid a monthly thing. A lot of stuff is paid in cash daily because that's how they survive. It's just they can, I can't pay for the month. How can I pay for them? But I can pay for today. I'll pay for tomorrow. And if I can get some money tomorrow, I can pay for the next. Like, that's how it works. So you've got lines of people standing outside of banks with no access to their money, and they, no ability to get access to it either, So what comes into play? What do? Well, my wife and I send Western Union. So we send Western Union to my wife's family so that they have some cash until apparently yesterday. Well, this was last night. They made an announcement. This guy, I think his name is Marcos Lopez. He's like the bank president. He came out and did like this really nice, hey guys, it's nothing about solvency issues. Do not worry. That's not what it is. It's just a bank error from a hard drive that was corrupted, and we needed technical assistance to recover those. Okay, that's fine. It should just be a nice indicator for what can happen. I mean, it was real close to anarchy. I mean, you have 2 or 3 more days where people can't get their money in their banks, and you got to run on every other bank in the country because people are freaking out that those banks aren't safe now. And if that happens, and there's a run on all the banks in the country, you remember how America works. Remember, we lend money to other people, and then they can take that money and lend it at 100 times out to those to banks, and then those banks can take that money and lend it at 100 times out, meaning they only have to hold 1% of cash reserves in their actual vaults, but they can lend out 100x that times or even 1,000x that times, in what their lending capacity is. Well, now you've compounded your lending capacity on $1 to $1,000 because, the bank here, the Fed lent it to the government central bank here in America, and that central bank gave that money down to Ecuador and, to their central banks, and their central banks then give it to the banks there. You know what I'm saying? Like, it just keeps going. And all people need to do is like one little time where they can't pay their child's, medical visit, or they can't buy food, formula, whatever. Whenever that happens, that person's never going to trust the bank again to keep their cash in there. And it's the same with me. I don't know how many times I've been in Ecuador before where I needed money and my card didn't work, or the ATM the system was down. Like, what does that mean? The system is down. I don't know how many times I've gone to the bank. No hay sistema. They just do this little hand wave. Like, you walk in because they know, like, you and everybody else in the world is coming there to get some money. And they're like, no hay sistema. No hay. I'm like, what does that mean? I can't eat today? No, it means you better call somebody in the States and have them send you Western Union, or this is why I learned Bitcoin. This is how Bitcoin changed everything 3 years ago, because we just, this is how we would live sometimes. When the earthquake happened, there wasn't a way to get money. There was no Western Union available, I mean, had I been able to do P2P transactions locally with my Bitcoin, I would have had cash. I would have had a currency that can use, and even though there wasn't, I guess, no, technically I wouldn't have had access to Bitcoin because I didn't have internet. Well, it's a good thought too. So earthquakes, Bitcoin ain't shit in earthquake, guys. So keep that in mind. Let me see if the audio is, now we hear you. Well, that's good to know. That's very good to know. So, well, let's take a quick look at what's going on CoinDesk's news. I saw that Dash thing. I want to actually make some phone calls and find out if that's true, because I know that they use Bitcoin way more than they use Dash, but it's not the most used. Oh, okay, that's what it is. No, Bitcoin is definitely the most used still by far. That's because it's the store of value that people are flooding out of. I don't really see too much. I mean, the price action on Bitcoin's not scaring me at all. It is what it is. It's above 10,000. I'm not worried about it. There was a really awesome meetup last night here in Atlanta. The meetups are cool, man. They had, ribs and smoked barbecue and all kinds of good shit. So not a lot of people, but it was a great conversation, good discussion. They have it at the DeKalb airport, and you can, go in there, get some beer, meet some people. There's also the Atlanta Blockchain Group. They're going to be meeting up at the Atlanta Tech Village. We've got that one locked down for September 24th. It's going to be a Tron meetup, Tron sponsored. Everything's official, confirmed. I'll be giving a talk on the Tron DApp space and how I believe that will help lead to adoption. I haven't kind of figured out the exact talk. I think I'm going to call it the Tron DApp, good, the bad, and the ugly, something like that, where I go into all the great things, the scams that have occurred, and how we kind of are moving forward now in that space. So that's about all I got for you guys today. I appreciate it. I hope this second one was shorter and sweeter, seeing how I got to practice it once without the mic being turned on. So that was lovely. Ecuadorian banks not giving out cash yesterday and the day before. Should be working today. I'll call family this morning and I'll find out if they're able to go get the money out of the bank, but I think they can. And Argentine Peso drops 30% in one day. Keep your eyes open, guys. I love everybody. Zero Attitude from Zero Latitude, Middle of the Earth podcast.